Welcome to the Moms I Know with Sheila Walsh-Denton and Maria Anderson-Farner. Two moms on a mission to reclaim childhood and take you from surviving to thriving on your parenting journey.
Every act of kindness on your part is a boost to your own immune system. By Marianne Williamson.
Hi, this is Sheila.
And this is Maria.
And we want to welcome you to
The Moms I Know.
Today we're going to be talking about supporting our immune system during the holidays. Such an important topic.
Yeah, I feel like it should be, kind of like this information could be used all year, but because we're inside more, because we have more recirculated air, because of that, people are getting sick. And so germs are spreading. So we want to share with you some of our best ideas, some of the things that we use with our own families. And sometimes it's good to get sick. It's good to fire up that immune system. I tell my children when they get sick, it's actually a sign of a healthy body. Your white blood cells are putting up a fight. And if you have little kids, the Magic School Bus has a great episode on white blood cells.
Yeah, but that's true. Sometimes our bodies just need to rest as well. This time of year, we're inside more. We're out in colder weather. When we are out, the changes of the temperatures, depending upon where you live, and then also just the added stress of the holidays really does affect us, as well as, what we're eating. We're busy. We're probably doing a little bit more at this time of year. So all of these things come into play. And so we really want to look at a lot of different aspects of supporting our immune system. And I love the quote because we really don't always think about the emotional component of it. But I think, for me, one of the first things that comes up is sleep, making sure we're all getting enough sleep. And that can be difficult. We're trying to get all kinds of errands run. We're trying to go to a lot of different events. I just posted about kind of supporting your family during the holidays in terms of simplifying a little bit. And we don't have to do it all. But within that, we all do have our commitments. And so really making sure that we're all getting enough sleep is such a key piece there. But I was hoping you'd talk about the nutrition aspect as well.
Yeah. So what I'd like to say is start with the no foods in a way. And usually I say bring foods in, but I really think at this time it's really important to know which foods you should really stay away from, at least try to stay away from as we get into the season. And those would be really, and I know this, could be controversial, but the sugar,
it's just hard.
It's just hard, but we know, sugar weakens the immune system, period. There's no wiggle room there. So less sugar. And that's why I say, if we can make some conscious choices around less sugar, less white flour, and less processed foods, that could be a good starting point. If that's not a choice that you would like to make, okay, then we're going to say, let's add in some nutrient dense foods. Let's add in some foods that are going to add vitamins and minerals to your diet. So that, of course, is the vegetables, those warming soups made with bone broth and meat stock. One of my favorites is on the pan, roasted veggies. Roasted cauliflower, roasted cabbage. You just massage those with a little olive oil and garlic and roast those, 375 for 45 minutes. It's amazing. Really good the next day as well. You want to bring in fermented foods, which are rich in probiotics. Really, we want to replenish it daily if we can. I was on another podcast just recently, and it was something that I forgot that I used to always tell my children that the non-negotiable is the daily sauerkraut. And at this season, it really becomes a non-negotiable. Like, every day, at least have a spoonful or two of sauerkraut. And if we keep those foods kind of as a base, a weekly thing that we're getting those foods in, that's going to set your immune system up to be stronger and resilient. We also want to add in some, getting to know some roots and herbs and everything. And specifically talking about it's like herbs, things that strengthen the liver. Sort of things that we're constantly supporting that. Roots like burdock root, ginger root, turmeric root, anti-inflammatory. Ginger is an amazing immune booster. Just, I shave a little bit of fresh ginger in some hot water, add a little lemon and honey. Even the lemon honey tea, again, really good for the immune system. Supplement wise, do you know, what are your favorite supplements? I can go in there, but what are some of your favorites?
Well, just making sure that we're all taking a good multivitamin. I use the omegas, really increasing those omegas for the brain health, for the healthy function. at my age, I'm also doing a lot of the anti-inflammatories, the antioxidants, and that helps to support probiotics. And so, the natural probiotics, obviously the sauerkraut, that's such a great reminder, especially at this time of year. And, some people have, an aversion to it, but really when you start experimenting with it, it's so delicious and a wonderful condiment to add to a lot of different things. But one of the things we were talking about ginger and turmeric, and both of those are so fun to add into our foods at this time of year. So really increasing those warming spices, the warming herbs, the cinnamon, the ginger, the cardamom, a little cayenne pepper, a little black pepper. So all of those. So think of the chai spices. I do a warming, that golden milk is a wonderful one to do at this time of year. And also sometimes I'll just take hot water with a drop of ginger essential oil. And again, when we're talking about essential oils, really high quality, certified pure therapeutic grade, please. And know what you're doing with those. But a drop of the ginger oil with a little bit of honey in the hot water can be really supportive for the immune system. Turmeric, again, amazing. So I'm wondering also about protein. How does that factor in?
I'll answer that in a second, but I want to, we want to get a balance of our macronutrients for sure. And, that like in the meat stock and everything, we're going to be getting proteins and everything. But I want to go back to the golden milk to make sure that is a really good recipe that I think everybody should know, and what it is. It's a high fat, but really an anti-inflammatory, but it's a really soothing and a very warming drink. I've never added cardamom to that, but I'm just like, ooh, that could be kind of interesting.
Oh, I love cardamom.
I love cardamom. Yeah.
That's my Scandinavian roots are really coming up right now at this time of year, and living in Montana. And so cardamom is something that I just grew up with, and it's really soothing. It's good for respiratory health and for digestive health.
Yeah. And rosemary, so like one of these other herbs that we can use is rosemary. We can add in really kind of the heavy hitters, a lot of garlic, a lot of oregano, some people are like, how do you do the garlic? And, I chop it up really finely and have it in honey, in raw honey, and like last night, my son's throat was hurting. So I'm like, gargle with salt water and then have some chopped garlic with honey. We also can, at this time, supplement with elderberry. Just like a daily dose of elderberry helps boost the immune system. Sometimes people make fire cider. You can buy fire cider now, but fire cider is it's a well-known kind of traditional recipe made by herbalists, and it's kind of similar to thieves blend. So I want you to talk about the thieves blend, Maria. But fire cider has roots in it, and a lot of like garlic and peppers and cayenne and everything. And you can make it on your own, ferment it for 6 weeks. It's actually, there's a recipe on my website, but you can also, as I said, you can also buy it. And I think one of the major boosters though is vitamin C. Making sure that you get your vitamin C. And sometimes we do have to supplement with that to get more. My favorite brand of vitamin C is called Radiant C. And you can get that online.
I'm glad you brought that up. I've been thinking a lot about this whole concept of the citrus fruits too. I mean, when you look at so many cultures, the citrus fruits are brought in at this time of year, that orange or the tangerine with the Christmas stocking or with the table. And when we think about that, the citrus is such a great source of that vitamin C. So it's really logical that we would be introducing that. And then wild orange essential oil is the oil of abundance. It's also the oil of the inner child. It's also one that, makes us happy. It's that buoyant spirit. And so, citrus plays such an important role at this time of year. And so it's fun to really be thinking about that. Beautiful aroma as well.
Yeah. And orange is also in thieves. So do you want to?
The On Guard blend.
Yeah.
And so, there's a couple of different companies, but this concept of the thieves during the time of the bubonic plague were not getting sick. And when they finally were caught, they were, asked, how is it that you're not catching this? And they were using essential oils, and some of those were cinnamon and clove. And so when you look at the properties of those that really help boost the immune system. So wild orange, clove, cinnamon, eucalyptus, rosemary is in the On Guard blend. If you don't have that, you can use those individually. Again, black pepper, when you look at the chai blends, those kinds of things. And so it's that those warming, when we talk about the Ayurvedic traditions, we're looking at those warming herbs, those warming spices. And so really looking at this time of year of slowing down, of keeping our bodies warm. My grandmother used to always talk about wrapping up, and I used to think that was kind of old fashioned, but now I realize the wisdom of that is keeping our head warm when we're out in really cold weather, keeping our hands and feet warm. And then you just got back from an amazing adventure. So I wanted you to talk a little bit about that as well.
Yeah.
If there, unless there was
I
something else you wanted to talk about food before we
I
head
just
into
really
that.
want to say is that I remember years ago an acupuncturist told me illness comes in through the neck, the wind. And so really making sure, especially after, you get acupuncture done, but especially keeping your neck covered with a scarf. You have a scarf on right now, and it's just like, during this season, you really always want to wear a scarf. And so it's really important to keep your kids bundled up, even though they say, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm fine." Sometimes they're not in touch with it, their temperature, but they need to be warmed, and so their energy is not being placed elsewhere.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because that was something that I had to learn the hard way. I got a little scolding one time when my daughter was not appropriately dressed by one of her teachers, but she really talked to me about that. Yes, the children don't always notice, and they can't regulate as well, and so we're their parents, and we need to make sure that they're layered, and depending upon the climate. But even in warmer climates in the winter, there's still the shorter days, the longer nights, and so we have to kind of compensate for that. So really adding that extra layer for the children is so important, and when watching them, and we can feel their fingers and their toes and their cheeks, and they may say, "Oh, well, I feel completely warm," but we want to be really protective. And if they're expending too much energy trying to stay warm, then they're not using that energy for growing. And so in all the body systems that need to be happening. So that is so important.
You said it so much more articulately. I thought it's a Waldorf thing. I think I got that from a Waldorf parent of just like Germany, you think about where Waldorf's roots are, and that was probably part of it.
Right. But, when we live in warmer climates, we think, oh, it's not as cold there, but it's the winter season. It's the winter, just the pace of life. And so when I learned about that whole concept of if the children are expending that energy trying to stay warm, we're taking away from what their bodies are supposed to be doing. So that was really helpful for me as a mother. And it was like, okay. And so, I always added that extra layer and made sure she had that on. And sometimes I'd, pick her up at the end of the day and she'd be down to the final layer, but I had done my best. And so I think that really is important. So, so we've got the sleep, the less sugar if possible, a lot of great ideas for foods and herbs and essential oils and things. But I love the fact that this quote was talking about the emotional component. And then we also were talking about warmth. So,
yeah. And so this past weekend, my husband and I, we celebrated our anniversary, and we decided to do a hot springs tour. And so we went in Northern California. We went to 3 different hot springs, mineral springs. And it was just such a warm blanket, where and then we were so lucky because the minerals, the mineral content of these healing waters is just makes your body feel so good. You can really feel the difference after you're soaking for 3 days, which we did. We did mud baths and then so I'm a big fan of hot springs. And Maria, you're so lucky now in Montana where you're going to have a lot of hot springs there, but there's not too many in the Central Coast, where we are right now, but it was about 3 hours away.
Yeah, but there's a lot in California, especially up in Northern California. And then here in Montana, we're close to Yellowstone. So there's a lot of activity going on. So I'm really looking forward to that. There's also the sauna is an incredible immune boosting. So if you have access to a sauna, that's a wonderful way to boost your immune system. And this time of year, it feels so fabulous. Yeah.
And another piece is nature, getting really out in nature right now and exploring that with your children. I do a lot of found, we could do found fairy houses type things to do when you're on your nature walks. You can do making wreaths and everything with found greenery that you can gather.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Nature, when we get out in nature, nature itself, there's studies done, I think in Japan, where just nature bathing helps to boost the immune system. And so, and the different trees that are out, the different components of the trees, there is this whole concept of also we've evolved over millennia with nature. And so our bodies need that. And I've been loving getting out every single day, no matter what the weather so far, every single day for a good brisk walk and out, I just bundle up and out I go, and we're breathing deeply. We're oxygenating our bodies. We're enjoying the natural beauty around us. And so that's so important.
There's a saying, right, that there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just like bad dressing
Bad
or
gear.
or something like that. Yeah, it's true. Because you hear about the stories in like, in Northern Europe where the children, is it Sweden, or where they go out every day?
Single day.
Yeah,
no matter what. And then also even children napping outside. And in Scandinavia, one of the books I was reading, they said as long as it's 40 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, they can nap outside, and that's good for their immune system. And I think in America we go, what? That's so cold. But the book, there's no such thing as bad weather, which is the Swedish American comparison kind of the different cultures. And my son-in-law always says that to me. No such thing as bad weather. There's just bad gear.
Right. That's it.
We've been learning about gear. So I purchased some new boots that are supposed to keep me my toes warm down to 60 below.
Oh my gosh.
60 below. I don't know if I'm going to be going out in that, but
sheesh.
Yes. But then the quote that we started with, this whole idea of this emotional component, I love this because we know that laughter can be a boost. We know that kindness, but there were a couple of things.
I want to share this quote. 1 minute of anger weakens the immune system for 4 to 5 hours. 1 moment of laughter boosts the immune system for 24 hours.
Amazing.
Oh, that's amazing. And then another one that's similar is the mind, in addition to medicine, has powers to turn the immune system around. So that is, that is the thing where when we talked about like how do you prevent illness, how do you boost the immune system, but what do you do when your children does get sick? How do you support that? And one of the things that I have told my children from when they were very young is that I have a healthy body. Like this is like a mantra that they say when they are fevering or when they're sick. It's like my body is strong and healthy. My body is strong and healthy, and it's going to fight the fight type thing, so that they can tell their brain that their body is strong and healthy. Right now, it's fighting. So give it the rest, give it the fluids, give it the support. With all these things that we've talked about in illness, this is how you still support the immune system. That's what we're trying to do, so that we don't have to give Tylenol. We don't have to give fever reducers, because remember, the sign of a healthy body is a fevering body. There are some really good books, because it gets really scary. I think when your child is fevering 102, 103 or something like that, and you get very fearful. But what you can do is you basically, you can call your doctor, call your nurse, check in with them, tell them what's going on. But until it gets, and I'm talking about not babies. Babies is a whole different story. If it's over 100, you definitely have to go in and everything like that. But up until about like 104, that's still healthy. That's still a sign of healthy. When it hits over 104, that's when you're going to need backups. That's when I would definitely probably bring the child in for sure. But until that point, you're able to do some things at home without, with supporting the immune system.
Yeah. But I love the fact that you talked about this, the mind over matter too, like my body is healthy. And so we know so much about the mind body connection. And so we can really focus on that emotional component of our health and staying positive and having those positive affirmations. And, even the whole concept of laughter and fun and, the family being together. But I think so often we shy away from going into that place of, the minute they start to get sick, we're worrying about it. But yes, that their body is fighting that infection, and that's, waking things up as well. And so it's important. And yet we want to do everything we can to boost our system so that we can handle those illnesses when they do come.
Yeah. And know when to go to the doctor. and know when to ask for support. And when sometimes when my children are fevering, it's like, yeah, well, we go to acupuncture, we go to chiropractic, we get, we do get support. And then sometimes you need to go to the emergency room when the answers are not being answered, and you have to really look at your child and every day, are they getting better or worse? And you have to pay attention. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to, give them this and they're going to be fine. You have to pay attention, especially when they're sick.
Right. And we don't want to mask those symptoms with things. So we really need to pay attention to that. But I was also thinking about the fact that, as the parents, we need to take care of ourselves. And so not just talking about, when the children get sick, but other things that we can do. And I'm really looking at stress at this time of year. And we know that stress plays a huge part in lowering our immune system. And so what can we do to reduce our stress? And obviously there's a certain level of stress that the holidays just brings. There's also the joy and the anticipation and the excitement and all of that. But as parents, making sure, again, that we get the sleep that we need. Are we keeping our normal routine and rhythm as well? Are we going to, if we have an exercise class or yoga class, are we doing our meditation? Are we doing those types of things that we've been doing all year long and not letting those fall by the wayside just because we've got more commitments at this time of year? So keeping those patterns and really trying to manage our stress the best that we can with the tools that we know can work, and really looking at our emotions. I know this time of year, just the singing, the music, going to some of those beautiful performances that are offered. There's a lot of free performances in our communities. And so taking advantage of those kinds of things. We had a holiday stroll here in Montana, and it seemed like the whole town was out, but it was just so fun to see the lights and the trees and the gingerbread contests and people out by the bonfires. And I think just doing what it takes to boost our spirits. And this time of year can be challenging for some people as well. If we've lost family members, if there's negative emotions that come up, or if there's stressors that come up. And so what can we do to, what are the things that we go to that make us happy? And so making sure that we're looking at our joy lists at this time of year too, and making sure that you're doing something on your joy list that's, a free thing every single day, and taking care of yourself. And then the bigger things. I was talking in one of my blog posts about helping families prioritize the things. And like if each family member talks about the favorite things that Christmas or the holidays or whatever you celebrate brings, and picking one of those, we don't have to do it all. We can do one or two things, and we can really prioritize this. But what brings us joy at this time of year?
Mm-hmm. That's so sweet. And it's the joy and the gratitude. And then, we mentioned the gratitude lists before, and also laughing a lot, sitting around watching Home Alone, watching those movies and just really, like you said, like having a good time.
There's a lot of those feel good holiday, there's the books, there's the movies, the things that really make us evoke those memories as well. And so that is so important. Another piece that I wanted to add is this idea of generosity at the holidays, and how can we reach out and help somebody else in need? And that's going to help us feel good. It's going to help boost our immune system. It's going to, just contribute to our overall wellness around the holidays. So whether that's adopting a family, or taking some food to the food bank, or donating, to an organization like Heifer International, there's things that you can talk with your children and decide, what are we going to do as a family this year? I know some families have decided that instead of extended family doing a lot of gift giving, that we're going to pick one cause and we're going to donate to that this year. So we've done that in different years. And so, you can think about, how can I reach out to somebody else and give at this time of year of our time and our attention? I think, when we give of our time and our attention, that's the best form of generosity.
Yeah. So Maria and I want you guys to stay healthy.
Yes. So that you can really enjoy all that this time of year has to offer. So with that, I think we'll leave you with just some healthy, healing thoughts for the holidays. And until next time on The Moms I Know, we'll see you soon.
Thanks for joining us today for The Moms I Know. To learn more about Sheila and her online program, The Mom Map, visit purplebeetnutrition.com. For Maria's monthly blog and to learn more about her group programs and retreats, visit soquelessentials.com. That's SOQUEL essentials.com. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of The Moms I Know. Until next week, have a joyful family journey.